Welcome back to Real Beans. Today we have a special guest with us again. It is Danielle Aubuchon.
Hello, hi Ben. Great to be
Hi,
back. Great
glad
to
to
be
have
back.
you back, and we're doing another double feature. This
Yeah.
time we are talking about two of the films by another underrated actress named Dorothy McGuire. Dorothy was around in like the 1940s, is when she came onto the scene. She had been on stage previously, came to Hollywood, started off, and really became kind of a major star for a while, uh, and was in a multitude of prestigious pictures, including the one of them that we're going to be discussing today, which is Gentleman's Agreement, and that's her one and only Oscar nomination for Best Actress. As we see with many of our prestigious actresses of that day, as she got older, she was relegated to more mother roles, and most people would probably have seen her in the Disney films, live action films of Summer Magic, Swiss Family Robinson, and the tearjerker Old Yeller.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen Old Yeller, she's so good in it, but it's also an extremely depressing movie.
It really is.
But it's a good movie, and that was where I first came on the scene when I saw Dorothy McGuire, was in Summer Magic, because I loved Summer Magic growing up as a kid. And then I saw her in Swiss Family Robinson, and I was always like, she's so interesting to watch. And then when I found some of her older works, such as Gentleman's Agreement and now The Enchanted Cottage, I'm like, yeah, she had something that they didn't tap into more often, I think, than what they could have. But she was a big star. People loved her. She was very active throughout, and I read that I think it was after Gentleman's Agreement, she and a couple of other people started the La Jolla Playhouse.
Wow, I did not know that.
So it sounds like I think she really enjoyed stage work,
Yeah.
and so that was one of the things that she was part of. So I found that to be very interesting.
I did not know that she was one of the co-founders of the La Jolla Playhouse. That's amazing. That's amazing. It doesn't surprise me, but it's amazing. I love to
Right,
hear that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so we get to discuss her today, and I'm very excited. The
me
two
too.
films is The Enchanted Cottage, and then we have Gentleman's Agreement. And we're going to start off with the one I didn't see and I hadn't seen before is The Enchanted Cottage. And Danielle, you introduced me to this one, and I didn't really know about it. I might have seen it in the list of her credits, but never really thought about it. And then when I was watching it, saw how many actors I knew that were in
Yes.
it that I love. One we just talked about, who was in Sitting Pretty,
Robert Young.
Young, yep.
Hmm?
And then another favorite of mine, Herbert Marshall,
Oh,
who was
mine
in a
too.
few. He's in a
Yes.
lot of Betty Davis films. He's another charming actor who always, you just want to sit down and have a conversation with him. It always
You
seemed like.
do. You do. He was just, yeah, totally just solid as can be. Yeah.
And then two other actresses who I really like, who were very much character actresses of their day, is Mildred Natwick, who plays the
Love her.
lonely housekeeper,
Hmm.
and Spring Byington. I was surprised. I was like, oh, and Spring Byington I've seen many of her films, and she tends to play sort of eccentric, motherly type roles. Um,
Hmm.
but there have been times where she's been extremely like powerful, especially in her Oscar-nominated film "You Can't Take It With You."
Hmm.
And but she also has a really great for those who are looking for older movies that are kind of under the radar. There's a film called The Devil and Miss Jones, and she
Oh,
has a really
she's
yeah she plays the girlfriend of the older gentleman, and they come to like each other later on. But she always has a charm to her, even in the Enchanted Cottage, where her character is kind of she's not what we would consider a nice
not,
person. She's
not
more
terribly sympathetic.
super
No. Yeah.
superficial, and she goes for the what the looks are and making
Mm,
sure that matters. And but she's still charming in this when
yeah,
she's like, but yeah, these actors and actresses that are in it, I was like, wow, what a combination, and all of them have such good chemistry together.
I do.
It was such a charming film, and
Mm,
that was my first reaction to the whole thing was like, wow, this is superb, and it's got a lot to say, even
mhm,
in a short period of time,
mm.
and we'll get into that as we start. So, what were your first instincts and reactions to this film when you saw it?
Well, I remember my mom talking about it, and then, of course, our favorite TCM. It was coming up on TCM, so I either recorded it or watched it. And having been a Dorothy McGuire fan for forever, and Robert Young, I I was surprised. I didn't know what to expect, and I really absolutely found it enchanting. And by enchanting, I mean it it raised my spirits in a way, and it's not like a happy, funny film at all,
No,
but not even close. But it's just the warmest, sweetest, and I say enchanted because that's a term that she uses, and there's a difference between enchantment, let's say, and hauntings, right?
right,
Enchantment brings love and good feelings
support and
and support
caring,
and caring and true beauty, true love, and it on kind of a spiritual-ish kind of level,
right,
which is what the Mildred Natwick, I think, character really kind of represents. So
right,
I was just charmed, and like I was telling you earlier, as I tend to do with these movies, I get kind of addicted to them for a while. I kind of binge them and I watch them over and over, and they become my kind of comfort movie for a period of time. And I've seen
right.
this half a dozen times minimum. And just every, I don't know, it just touches my heart on a level that it's really kind of hard to put into words, but loving to watch the character actors. And I'm a big Herbert Marshall fan as well. And Mildred Natwick, who people have, you'll know her when you see her, you
Yeah.
know. And she is such an interesting character in this to me. So that was my impression. I was enchanted by it. That's all I can say. I was
Yeah,
completely.
and that brings us to sort of the beginning of the film, where we begin first with Herbert Marshall's character getting ready to play his new piece. He is a blind composer, and he's waiting for our two leads to arrive, and this is in the future. So Laura
Mhm,
Pennington and Oliver Bradford are the two leads who they're
mhm,
waiting for, and they're like, well, they're not here yet, so let's just get started. And then all of a sudden we get transported back in time to when they first met,
mhm.
and Dorothy McGuire is a plain, homely looking woman, nothing, no big features about her that would stand out in society, as it were. And
Terribly
she
shy. Terribly
terribly
shy.
shy, very, very much withdrawn from
Mm,
the world.
mhm,
But she comes across this cottage that has been in ruins, except for one portion of the house, which
mm,
is in where the Mildred Natwick character resides and takes care of. They rent out this part of the cottage to newlyweds who are
mhm.
on their honeymoon. And something about it, as you were pointing out, Danielle, earlier, uh, Laura says, there's something about this cottage that I just found enchanting, and I want to see if I can be a part of it, and see if I can get a job. And one of my favorite quotes is, she's looking for a place to belong, is what she tells the Herbert Marshall character when she arrives. And That's where we start to get the feel of what her character has gone through. She doesn't really have anybody, no friends.
Her family has died. I mean, she has no living relatives anymore. Her mother's gone. And I find is interesting is she knew about the cottage when she was a child, so it's been around that long. It was something that has just always been there. But she was actually summoned by the Mildred Natwick um, character to help her, which is an interesting thing because it's almost like a guardian angel to me. That's how I came across to say, here she is lost, she comes back, and now she's summoned to this cottage. So,
Right. Another
yeah,
part of enchantment,
exactly.
where it's like
Exactly.
the right place at the right time and something's calling to you, and it's like that, it
Mhm.
just feels right. So now you're going to go and see what you can do to, as she said, to find a place to belong.
Yeah.
And she meets the Mildred Netwick character. That is, the character is Mrs. Abigail Minute, and she is a lonely recluse. She stays in the house, cleans it, and basically just goes about her day, not really doing much of anything. She represents, and we'll soon discuss this with each character, but of these uh, themes that we get, she represents the loneliness that
Mhm.
people can feel, where she's lost her husband during the war, she's been by herself. All she has is the
Mhm.
cottage that she takes care of, but there's nobody around to talk to, so she just, almost like a ghost in a way. She's sort of
Yes.
just floating
Yeah.
about, doing her daily routines, nothing's happening,
Yes.
and her world gets a bit shaken up when Laura arrives to be the maid and help take care of the cleaning and
Mhm.
opening the doors and taking care of, and they soon become friends. And she's still a bit withdrawn,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
housekeeper, and
she's very matter of fact, very businesslike, and I think, if I remember correctly, she's Laura is summoned there because she has people who are interested in renting it. Future
right.
newlyweds are interested in renting it, so she needs help getting it, you know, prepped for them, for this new couple to come in.
Yep, and that's when we see the new couple coming in, and that is the Robert Young character Oliver Bradford and his fiancee Beatrice, played by Hilary Brooke.
Mhm.
Hilary Brooke, uh, the character, she arrives, sees the place. It's very homely, very not really elegant,
Mm,
nothing superficial, and very much plain. And she's
yeah,
like, okay, well, fine. Well, this is
but
what
she's
you want.
definitely a snob, let's just face it. This
Yes,
character is a snooty, nose in the air, cold,
very
looking down,
cold.
very cold, looking her nose down. She's, looking down upon Laura as the maid. Oh, you must be the maid, you know. Mm. And then,
And then you
well,
have,
okay.
right, and connected to Oliver, who's very much charmed by the place, and especially
Yes.
when you see the window that they keep referring to of all the previous newlyweds who wrote their names on the windows, and he's so enchanted by that, and um, Beatrice is just sort of like, ugh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is like, she can't get past the fact that there's something more than just a plain cottage here that's cozy,
Yes.
and
Right.
she
Well,
just
she
can't
also it's
see.
sort of like a sacrifice. Whatever you want, darling. If this is where you
Right,
want to stay, that's just fine.
fine.
And he gets, yeah, and Oliver gets a little of the story because Laura is so well versed in the history of the place because she grew up around it, that she starts telling him the stories and who owned the cottage first, what happened to it, and on the window, you know, looking at all the names that they've etched into the window and the dates and hundreds of years old, these couples are there, and he's becoming intrigued and enchanted by it. And then, as the fiance walks down the stairs saying, "Oh, whatever you want, darling. Who cares? Whatever." He takes her engagement ring and remember that and tries to
Yep,
etch their names into it, and the ring, here's a
pops off.
foreshadowing. Yep, breaks.
It just
Mm,
breaks, and the
it
main jewel just falls off. And exactly, it's like, hmm, what's the
Hmm.
cottage trying to say here?
Right. Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
something isn't quite this marriage is not shouldn't be
Not married
taking
to
place.
them. Yeah.
And exactly. And as we see, as the time progresses, because they have to cut their honeymoon short or their wedding short because he has to go off to war. He's a veteran and goes off to war. Time passes, and we come to find out that he's returning
Mm-hmm.
after being in the war
Mm-hmm.
back to the cottage, and they all think, oh, it's the couple, they're coming back, they finally were able to marry and now they can enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And unfortunately we just see him walk in sort of in a shadow saying he wants to go to his room.
But Mildred Natwick, what is the? It's Mrs. What was her name?
Minute.
The Mrs. Minute.
Mrs. Minute.
She opened. It's interesting because it's very stormy. She opens the door and she freezes. There's a point where she freezes and kind of has a weird semi flashback in a way of something that happened because that cottage was gifted to she and her husband and he was killed.
Right.
So it's sort of like a flash, and then she's very businesslike and goes back to Laura and said, okay, come on, let's get the bedrooms ready, let's do this, he's coming alone, blah 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 blah, blah. Let's get it together. And she's like, what, oh, okay. And then we see him come in quickly in a shadow, as you say, and upstairs. Go.
Yep, we don't really know what's going on. We're just we're
Mm-mm.
as confused as the main characters in the room.
Really.
Laura is trying to understand what's going on, and she brings up the tray for dinner, knocks on the door. He doesn't answer. She comes in, and we see what has happened to Oliver, and he has been disfigured from being. I can't remember if he was hit by a bomb or if his plane went down, because I think he was a pilot, if I
I think
remember
it was.
correctly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so his face has been partially disfigured with a scar up to his ear from his mouth, and he's also got an issue with his mouth drooping to the side. So he is no
And
longer
his
the
eyes are
dashing.
blind. Right.
Yep, he is no longer the dashing young man that Laura met at the beginning, and he's appalled with himself, and he's sort of feels like that the hunchback syndrome where you're like, don't look at me, don't look,
Mm-hmm.
and because
And
all he
angry.
and angry,
Mm-hmm.
and Laura is first taken aback, but she doesn't shy away.
Mm-hmm.
She respects what his wishes are. You know, please get out, go
Mm-hmm.
away. Um, and we then move into the next scene where the mother and stepfather come with his ex fiance, and that is
Yeah.
an extremely difficult scene because uh, they can't get him to come out
Mm-mm.
of the room. He doesn't want to see them anymore. He can't bear to
Mm-hmm.
be around them. And that was because when he arrived, his face was so disfigured to them that they couldn't get past the his look, the
The horror.
problem, the ailment.
Right.
And to their minds, he was no longer the same person that
Right.
left to go to war. And
Right.
his
Yeah.
fiance took it extremely difficult and just
Really bad.
called off
Everything.
the wedding. And at
Mm-hmm.
the cottage, she is asked by Spring Byington's character to go up. Maybe he'll listen to you if you go talk to him, try to get him to come out, see reason. And in a very kind of heartbreaking moment, Beatrice is the fiance's
Yeah.
character, where she's
Yes.
talking through the door saying, please
Yeah.
forgive me, please forgive me. I don't, I can't help myself. She has a little bit of remorse.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
and
yeah, she does. However, you kind of wonder, if she's just saying it, or I mean, I felt it, but
I think
I don't know. It's hard.
I, I think it's like she's saying that she's not strong enough to get
Yeah.
past,
Right.
and that's a big a major reality in our lives is that people sometimes just can't get past the surface. someone
Mhm.
changes and it's like, oh, well, I can't avoid looking at what the problem is, even though it's
Mhm.
not really a problem because they're still the same person. They need to keep having the love and care and compassion in order for them to not shoo themselves away and stay away from society,
Right.
which is more detrimental
Mhm.
than just trying to look past the problem and trying to get.
Mhm.
I hate saying get used to it, but that's sort of like you have
Yeah,
to teach yourself to look past that, because we're all going to
exactly.
be at the beginning being like, oh, this is something new, and our brain is processing everything. But to just push somebody away because they now have either a disfigurement in the face, or they've lost their arm, or the casualties of war is so
Exactly.
drastic that
Exactly.
we forget
Makes
to
yes.
keep that compassion when they come back and what they've been through.
Right. It also because of the first scene when they were just, fine and before he goes to war, makes you kind of wonder how deep their love really was to start with because she was so superficial and so shallow. And like you say, everything about how everything looks. And he's like, no, I think it's charming. I love this. And he sees past the surface. And she, as a character, clearly didn't. And it just kind of fit that this wasn't going to, this was not going to be good. She was not going to
Exactly.
accept him as he is now. Yeah.
And the same is true of the mother and father, stepfather, because
Oh.
they are of that hobnobbing, snobby class as well.
Hmm.
Appearances are everything, and
Hmm.
now that he's been disfigured, they don't want him to be out in society again,
Right.
as it were. It
Right.
seems like they want to just make sure
Oh,
he's just taken care
yeah.
of, and uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Mm.
it's heartbreaking because it's like
Yeah.
even your own flesh and blood is just like, no, I can't quite. I'm gonna try to be as loving as I can, but there's still something blocking
Mm.
me from actually showing full compassion and care for this, um, especially
Yeah.
because they won't have had to go through what he's gone through.
That's right. And what does that do to that person who has been disfigured or harmed or any number of things in a situation like the war? I mean, this was made in 1945, so we were World
Right.
War II, right? Um, I mean, what does that do to them? And it's in the first part of this film, we see what it does to
Yes,
Oliver.
he stays locked up in his room. He doesn't want to be disturbed. Doesn't want to go out to do anything.
He's
And
angry, he snaps, he throws things. He's suicidal.
oh, that yes, because there's the moment where she comes in. Laura is just making sure everything is fine. Is he good? And he's about to throw himself out the window, and she cries out, "Don't do that! Don't!"
Mhm.
And that kind of changes his manner a little bit more because somebody has like, you belong here. You belong. Don't throw
Right,
yourself out the window. You're not alone. I'm here. The
right.
cottage is here. You're
Yeah,
among
there's
loving friends, and
there's
um,
something to live for. There was also a beautiful thing where he gets very angry at one point and says something to the effect, and I don't know, exactly, but "Aren't I just hideous to look at? You don't know what it's like. Am I hideous?" And she simply says, "No." She says,
right.
"No, you're not." It's like and it was so simple. Dorothy McGuire was so brilliant. So simple, not a big thing, but God, I get the chills just thinking about it again. Just, no, you know, you're the same
And
person. Yeah.
exactly, because she can see beneath the surface and the
Mhm,
character, and
mhm.
knows what he, because she met him before the disfigurement, so she knows what he's like,
And they had a
and
connection
they had a
when they
connection.
yeah.
And she's also, she's the shy, plain, nobody wants to be around her, so she's got
Mhm,
that type of ailment.
mhm.
So
An
she
emotional
understands. She
yes, she
understands when people are not looking at you or the same way as they used to, or don't want to, won't
mhm,
make the effort to.
mhm,
And yeah, so their connection starts to really ramp up as he starts to go outside, sit by
mhm.
the ocean, and the water is just splashing against the coast, and we keep having recurring moments with the Herbert Marshall character who keeps coming up, and he's sort of the wise man of the group because
Yes.
he's blind, and so he cannot see what's on the surface anymore. He can only go by what he hears, feels, and
What
that
he says.
alone creates the characters of the person that he's seeing and talking
Yes.
to. So he's
Yes.
not going to be, oh, I see you have a disfigurement,
Hmm.
because he also has an ailment, which is he's blind. So he is also treated differently in the world because of
Absolutely.
his being blind. He's with his
Nephew and
nephew.
sister, right? The
Yeah,
little
and
boy
the
is the
nephew,
nephew.
he keeps
He's a
going around
he's
with
a
the
kid.
nephew, and
He's a
uh,
kid.
but the
And
thing I
also,
noticed too about the nephew, I'll just jump in with the
oh
nephew,
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
that the nephew is has been trained and taught to look past the um, the surface and isn't taken aback at all by the ailments that he sees with the Oliver character. Um,
No, but it's mostly because his uncle teaches him. Because remember in the first part where uh, the nephew and Herbert Marshall's character meet Laura, Dorothy McGuire's character, the little boy says to him, "Oh, she's awful homely. She's, basically, she's really ugly." And he said, "That's not nice,
right.
Tommy," or whatever. That's or whatever his name is. "That's not nice. You don't say that." He said, "She has a lovely voice, and loved her spirit." So the Herbert Marshall character, you're right, sees past it. From being blind, he feels the spirit and thinks she's beautiful. And he said, "No, she's homely." And he said, "No, no, no, that's not nice."
Well,
Yeah.
and he also says the same thing about Mrs. Minute, that she's a witch, because the
Right.
townspeople think she's a witch. So he hears all
Right.
that, and he's like, "No, I doubt that she's a witch. She's probably just, a lonely recluse who just doesn't go out very much." And
Yeah,
they all four of them, the characters that have each one, homeliness, disfigurement, blindness, and loneliness, all come together in this cottage where they all can be as one, as it were. They don't have to worry about anything,
that's right.
about people talking about them, or feeling
Mm,
different about them.
mm-mm,
And it's that's what I love about this film and its message, is the
mm,
fact that we do have to look past the surface, because it's
mhm,
not the fault of a person if they have some
mhm,
ailment that is causing them to either just hide away or not be involved, or yeah. And it
mm,
takes the cottage, as you say, the Enchanted Cottage, to really
mm,
bring them all out
mhm.
into what they are.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And then as they spend more time together gathering driftwood for the fire, and it's becoming their love is growing.
Right,
Oliver and Laura's love is starting to blossom. And they brilliantly in the picture physically start to change.
right.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting moment when
Mhm.
that happens, because all of a sudden,
Mhm.
Dorothy McGuire's character is beautiful, gorgeous looking. She's just what you would expect from those silver screen leading ladies. She's breathtaking to look at. You wouldn't
Mhm.
think of her as a homely person anymore. And then
Mm-mm.
the disfigurement of Oliver has gone away, and he's back to his dashing looks, and everything
Yes.
is sort of back to what it used to be.
That's right.
And they're just so happy and so in love, and everything is just, nothing is wrong anymore, and they can
Mm-mm.
just feel like they can go on with their lives, and they're
Mhm.
together, they can get married, and they can really just have a great time.
Mm.
The cottage made us better.
Yes.
And they invite their friend,
Mm.
Herbert Marshall's character, to come in, and they say, "We're different now. We're completely different.
Yeah.
Everything is back to normal." And since he's blind and cannot see, he hears the undertone of like, "Oh, you sound extremely happy, but
Yes.
your
Yes.
disfigurement and ailments are not going to magically disappear." He understands like what has happened to them as people, and how
Hmm.
they were able to like not ever see they don't see their ailments anymore.
Transformed,
And
really.
and yes, exactly. They've just transformed right in front of our eyes, even though, as we come to find out,
Hmm.
um, they invite the mother and stepfather back to the cottage. We're getting married. Everything's great. We're all
Hmm.
good. And they go up to change to get ready for their arrival. Herbert Marshall's character is sitting there waiting. The mother and the stepfather come in, and he's like, "I'd like to have a word. I want to talk to you about what's happening and what you need to do." He tries to explain that they're all happy. You have to go along with them. You have
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
and that he didn't really explain it in the way of like they're still disfigured, but
No.
they've come
Yeah.
to enjoy themselves and
Right.
love and see past that they think that they have been transformed, and you have to go along with it. But they're interrupted by them coming down, and we see them back to their
Down the stairs, they yes, beautifully thought of, beautifully produced, beautifully directed film,
absolutely
and they just transform again back as they come down, but they're behaving differently.
right.
That's the interesting thing. They're back, but they're, he's back to his old self. She is this open, can't wait to make tea for her mother-in-law. Let me set it out. We'll have a beautiful tea. And then I'll let you
And
go
then the
ahead.
mother and
Ugh.
the stepfather both look and are confused as all get up. They're like, I don't understand, my dear. I, I don't understand. And then she turns to Laura and says, "I'm so glad he found somebody like you." And that's when the realization happens between both Laura and Oliver when they realize, oh, we haven't
Mm,
really changed at all.
mhm.
And the parents are
That's
still in
heartbreaking.
it
That's
is.
that
And
gets me every time I see it. She drops the tea almost. She just stumbles over herself because she had
e-
this perfect dress picked out, and the
exactly.
mother did something cruel, like, "I'm so glad he could find you. You'd be so much better for him than a pretty girl," or something just along
Right.
those lines, and it's
Right.
just so horrible,
And
and
it's again, it's that type of person, and they exist in the real
yes,
world where they
yeah,
couldn't just go along with it. They had to like say
hurt.
something that was
Yep,
hurtful or
yep.
what's in there, what they're seeing, and they can't let them be happy about it. And uh
Then she starts crying, go, my poor baby," like,
exactly.
it's just awful.
And then
It's
they leave with Laura, Oliver, and I'm gonna say his character's name now, Major Hillgrove,
oh, that's Herbert Marshall.
Herbert Marshall's character, and they're all left together, and
And
they had
and
that.
Mrs. Minute is there as well. I think she was very scared when she heard that they had invited the parents because
Yep,
she knew obviously what was going on. And she actually informed the major, Herbert Marshall's character, about this is what's happening, but they need you to come and all
right,
that. So,
exactly, because she's like something wonderful has happened, but
however,
it's that
yeah,
yeah, it's like I've never seen such a transformation. However, they're not what they were, and they still
right,
are, and we have to make sure that they're still that we take care of them and
protect
protect
them. Yeah.
keep that enchantment going for them.
Yes. Yes, and the
And that
protectment to me, remember the bird that Mrs. Minute
oh
has
yes,
in the kitchen? Kinda in a way, kinda communicates with her, sings happily, and then she kinda listens to it. They have a relationship. It's very interesting. Um, and that's how I kinda see it. It's like this, like the bird's in an enchanted bird in this cage, and this is her enchanted area for these people to thrive. Like the bird, to me,
right,
she's gonna protect them at all costs, and it just kills her that this woman comes in and does this to these people. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Um, and it just this really gets to the crux of the whole movie and what the theme is for this. And you know, we all want to look under the surface and just judge a person by their character and who they are rather than what they look like. And
Mhm.
um, we seem to sometimes go in that direction these days. We're getting closer to that as opposed to being so superficial. But in the age of social media, it's even harder now to try
Yeah.
to get past that whole like keeping up with the Joneses or appearances are everything.
Hmm. Yeah.
That it
Right.
just this film
Yeah.
might have been ahead of its time a little bit.
I actually think it is. It's sort of like a wonderful, beautiful, heart lifting fairy tale because there's definitely a message, but there's something to learn. It teaches people something, and in a most
Exactly.
delightful way, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to ruin the entire ending, but it
Mhm.
is a somewhat of a happy ending,
Yeah.
where they kind of realize who they
Hmm.
are and what they'll always be, and they just
Hmm.
have to, be the best they can be and be just happy with themselves and love themselves,
Hmm.
and
And
that
each
makes
other
them exactly, and that makes them
happy.
human and wise
Mhm.
and and they can love each other no matter what society thinks.
That's right. That's right. It's just, I'm so glad you saw it and I'm so glad you liked it. I love to share movies that make my heart swell. So that made me so
Yeah,
happy that,
I was very pleased to find it on Blu-ray because I was afraid that it was going to be one of those that I
yeah,
wouldn't have been able to find because I hadn't heard of it. But I was like, I'm going to get this because you never know when something's going to go out of print. So I was
so,
like,
so
and
true.
I thought, this will be a great one to add to the collection, and
Mhm.
um,
You'll go
yeah,
back to it too. I swear to God, I
yeah,
promise you will go back to it because I do. I pop it in for those special times, moods. I have this in the library, and it's just like it's just you go back to it when you need a lift because it really is truly a beautiful story. Yeah.
it is. And yeah, so I would suggest that those of you listening to try to seek this one out. It's
Mhm.
definitely a loving, warm, caring story, beautifully photographed,
Oh my
and
God.
the cinematography is gorgeous. The
Ah,
actors are all in their
top
best,
notch.
doing their best work,
Mhm.
and yeah, and the story is just it's timeless. It's a timeless
Time
story.
timeless. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Loved it. Please see it.
All right, let's take a coffee break. For today's brew, Danielle and I drink Counterculture Coffee's Hologram Blend.
I can't really smell anything.
I couldn't either.
Yeah,
And
that happens sometimes. What I find funny is that, especially if when I use the automatic coffee maker, I'll get up and I'll go over towards it and I'll smell like, oh, it smells exactly like the what's the package say, like the
description.
chocolate and some when I smell the beans, I definitely was smelling fruit. Did you smell any of that? I
Yes, but I don't taste it. I taste chocolate.
Okay, I haven't tasted it yet, so
Oh,
let's
sorry.
see.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean that it's interesting, like which, no matter what section if you're just going over to the machine, you smell something different than
Yeah.
what you smell in
Yeah.
the cup and then what you
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely taste the chocolate.
And they specifically say like a milk chocolate, which is very different. True.
Exactly.
It's really delicious. I and it also doesn't it describe like syrupy? I don't
Hmm.
I don't kind of I don't really know what would that mean to you because I don't know if I'm tasting syrupy.
I think what that means, it could be the texture
Hmm.
of it.
Okay.
Sometimes coffee
Okay.
can feel heavy. The taste
Mm-hmm.
of it can feel a little, or the texture of the coffee, the taste, all can feel a little bit heavier than,
Yeah.
say, a lighter roast. And this is a medium roast, I believe. Yes.
Hmm. I guess I
Uh,
get that. I get the syrupy thing. I do.
yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
smooth.
it's always interesting when you see what the notes that they say that
Yeah.
that whomever created this coffee blend had the original thought of these are the three things that were main. And and as I was saying, when I opened the beans first in the bag, I smelled inside and I was like, oh, I definitely smell some fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But then I
Mm-hmm.
don't taste any fruit, I just taste the milk chocolate.
Me
And what's
too.
interesting, because we've had ones that had dark chocolate, as
Yes.
the thing, and it's much, you can taste that chocolate even more intense.
Yeah.
And here it's definitely a lighter chocolate, and that makes sense for milk chocolate. So
Yes.
um,
Yes. It's
I
it's
think
very
this is my
good.
first. I think this is my first time drinking hologram. I don't know if I've had them before.
It's good.
It's pretty good for a blend.
I'm still drinking the one. I love the one from the last podcast we did. I'm hooked. This is quite good. This is quite good. I love all these. You turn me on to all these great coffees.
There's
But
so many out there. So
no, I
many.
love it though. It's like a
And
cool club to find, you know?
exactly. Exactly. I love when I was in Michigan last week, we went to, well, I found this in a store called Meyer, and that's pretty much in the Midwest, grocery store, department store
Oh,
combination.
oh, how fun.
Uh,
Very
and
good.
so I went there with my dad, and we were just wondering when I said, I always have to look at the coffee aisle to see what and they had everything. I was surprised. And then I saw
Really?
counterculture, and I was like, okay, they've got that here. But they had other ones that, like Blue Bottle,
Ooh,
and there's another one I saw that is a very popular one, Stumptown, which I think we may have. I don't know if we've done Stumptown with you yet.
hey. No.
That'll be another recurring because they're very very good.
Mm.
And La Colombe is another one that. Oh, they had Intelligentsia, which we've
That,
had.
that
That's the
was
one.
delicious. So delicious. I remember listening to the last one of the last ones you did with Catherine, and I'm kind of in her camp. I like a little milk with my coffee. I
Mhm.
am not because I'm not even the most delicate or the sweetest coffee has a little bit of a bitter underside to it, which is not bad. But the milk for me just kind of takes the edge off, and
Yep.
yeah,
That that's
and steamed
that's.
milk is even better.
I
Mm.
mean, you're definitely in the majority. I feel that most people will put cream or sugar or both into it
Sugar,
because just to get rid of that bitterness that most
yeah,
people tend to avoid, and they just want the caffeine fix, and they want it to
right,
taste good, but they don't want to have that extreme taste of the
right,
bitterness, especially if it's something like a dark roast that can be
yeah,
really strong.
yeah.
And I
Sugar,
always like,
sugar, I don't like. I don't like sugar in my coffee at all, at
I
all.
just can't. It just doesn't taste right to me.
It doesn't. It does,
It's
and I love sweets. I love sweets, but ooh, I
It's
don't know.
fine
It's
in a
not that.
latte as long as there's milk. If the milk is with it, and I mix it in with that, if it's like a latte or a mocha or something that needs it,
Mhm, mhm,
fine.
mhm.
But in terms of
Yeah,
just plain coffee, if the coffee's bad for me, I put milk in it.
yeah, okay. Oh, that's a sign.
So
Uh-oh.
anytime you have coffee with me and I decide, oh, I might need to put some milk in it, then,
Means
or if I don't touch it, I've had that before where I've taken a sip and then I've just put it back down and I've forgotten about it because it wasn't anything worth drinking.
in breakfast joints too, where this
Yep.
what they call American diner coffee, it's rare that I'll take a couple sips and then it'll be like,
Yep.
I'll drink the water. Thank
Because
you.
usually it just tastes like muddy water to me, usually.
And it's been, on the heat
Oh,
for way too
oh.
long.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about my automatic drip is it doesn't have a heat coil at the bottom of it. It's just I think the pot itself has a good insulation inside.
Oh,
So
cool.
that way it keeps it, like I could go away for a couple of hours and it'll still be maybe warm. It won't be piping hot, but it'll still have a warm feel to it. So,
That's a problem for me. I have to, the minute it brews for me, I shut it off
yep.
because it burns it.
Because as you say,
So,
it burns the coffee, and there's
yeah.
nothing worse than burnt coffee. That's
Oh,
even
God.
worse than diner coffee that doesn't
Oh,
taste
yeah.
good. Okay, and now
Right.
we're going to move on to sort of the meat and potatoes, a little
Yes.
bit more of a tougher story than what we just had with the Enchanted Cottage.
Yeah.
We are going to be now discussing a great film from the 40s called Gentleman's Agreement. So this was in 1947. It goes on to win Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actress for Celeste Holm. And Gregory Peck is nominated for Best Actor. Dorothy McGuire is nominated for Best Actress. Um, yeah, this
Was
is a
John Garfield nominated at all?
no. He was not, but he should have been. He
He
should have
should have
been.
been. I agree.
I think it would have
Yeah,
been a perfect one to nominate. Although they did nominate Anne Revere, who plays
good,
the mother. Um,
good. Oh,
and
good.
we'll talk a little bit about her later because she's one of my favorites
Mine
of
too.
the time period. And so, Gentleman's Agreement is a film that is about a reporter who's played by Gregory Peck. He's been assigned to do a story on anti-Semitism. This is in the 40s, so it's very prevalent um, for the time. And he is having trouble trying to figure out what lead he wants to go with because everyone has done a story on anti-Semitism and it never really gets to the crux of the situation. It never digs deeper than just the surface.
Hmm.
And he continues to have some struggles and decides he's going to pretend to be Jewish for a period of time and see what it's like to be in their shoes.
Hmm.
And what starts off as an interesting experiment leads into a world of heartbreak and
Harsh, harsh,
harsh realities.
thought-provoking realities. Yeah.
Exactly. Something that the character that Gregory Peck plays, and his name is Philip
Schuyler, right?
Schuyler Green.
Schuyler Green, right? And that's his nom de plume, or just so to speak, his writer is Schuyler Green. Isn't that what he
Right.
goes by? Yeah.
Exactly.
He's brought to New York to do this because he is a writer,
Right.
and he brings his mom, and he's widowed, so he brings his mom and his young son. So they're setting up house there while he goes, and he gets hired for this, and talks to this guy is, I assume, is the head of the paper or the owner of the paper, and he thinks it's a great idea, but he doesn't know what angle to take on, and that's what you're talking about. Then he finds this angle, which his mom thinks is great, who is played by Anne Revere.
Yep.
And there we go.
What sets all of this in motion is he is invited to the boss's party at the house. That's where he meets his niece, played by Dorothy McGuire, and that has her name is Kathy in this movie. And she was the one who actually said, "Why don't you write a story about anti-Semitism?" And she kind of gave the idea to her uncle.
Hmm.
And of course, both Gregory Peck and Dorothy McGuire's characters start to have a romance going as they kind of like tease each other about things. And when
Hmm.
he decides to tell her what his plan is,
Hmm.
she is supportive, but also a bit like, what is this going to be like? What is going to happen here?
Right.
Is this the right thing
Right.
to do? Um, and yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this movie.
There's a lot to unpack because we're one angle going into it, like with Kathy Lacey, the Dorothy McGuire character, is that you've got this very, well, for lack of a better term, waspy, upper class, wealthy environment with her uncle. And she and her sister were raised by the uncle and aunt and given a lot of, everything they ever wanted, every, clothes, everything, every privilege, right? Education.
Right.
And she comes up with this idea for her uncle to do this piece on anti Semitism, which sounds great on the surface, right? Makes her sound very open minded and liberal. And when you get down to the meat and potatoes of it, there's other shit going on. Excuse my French, but there's other stuff going on in her that's not exactly what it seems.
Exactly. And while we're discussing that, I'll just, some of my notes here are about the key themes of what happens throughout this entire movie. So
Yeah,
we have first, the main issue is, while the film does dive into the world of anti Semitism and how people treated Jewish people during that time, what the main issue is silent racism and
that's
prejudice.
that's right.
And what I mean by that is people like the Dorothy McGuire character who, on the surface, say things that are liberal, want everything to be perfect, but will still stand by and let the racism happen around them,
That's right.
especially in social situations.
Hmm.
And And that is one of the main issues as to why racism and anti-Semitism keep continuing to this day,
Mm-hmm.
because people are afraid. And that's the next theme, which is fear of social consequences, where
Mm-hmm.
many of us feel that if we speak up and say something, that that's going to ostracize us
Mm-hmm.
from this world that we've all known about.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be a very awkward situation to stand up for yourself in situations where you feel like you're in the minority
Mm-hmm.
of the people who are around you, who are used to, oh well, we're restricted, we
Yes.
don't want them in our neighborhood.
Which
uh,
is the gentleman's agreement.
exactly.
Right.
And yeah, and these are the big themes that the Gregory Peck character has to deal with as
Yeah.
he puts himself into the shoes of a Jewish man, and in turn makes him very angry
Mm-hmm.
with the world and with other people, to the
Mm-hmm.
point of where he goes from being this calm writer, father
Mm-hmm.
figure, you know, everything's going great, to this everything sets him off
Yeah.
of what he sees. And
Understandably, because he is walking in the shoes and experiencing exactly what his Jewish friend from the army has dealt with all his life. And it is a harsh reality that, as you say, really sets him off, which is a wonderful thing to live through with this, but it also affects his relationship.
exactly, exactly. And throughout the film, we are introduced to some other characters, such as John Garfield's character, who is a friend of Gregory Peck, who is Jewish. He's come
Right.
back from the war. He's trying to
Dave.
find work in New York City so he can bring his family back from California out to New York. He's trying to find a place to live. And as a Jewish man, he's having difficulties finding someone to rent to, and finding out that it's a very difficult thing for a Jewish person to find. Uh,
Exactly.
that people
It's
are just like, nope, nope, we're
restricted.
not going to rent to you. And we get one specific scene where Gregory Peck is sending out uh, resumes and applications to colleges and work under two different names, the Jewish name and his
Mhm,
Christian name. And
mhm.
on the mailbox, he starts to write the Jewish name,
Right.
and the superintendent of the building is like, well, you can't do that. You have to
Yeah.
go and do this in at the
Right.
law offices. You have to have this done this way. And
Mhm,
you get that sense of underlying racism there, of like, well, we don't
mhm,
want Jewish people in this building. I didn't know you
mhm,
were Jewish.
mhm.
Um, and
And
also another,
his character says, "If you touch that and you erase that, there's gonna be trouble, and it's heated. It's heated. Do not touch
exactly,
that name." Yeah.
that's that this is where these little scenes that we get is where you start
Mm.
seeing his anger just bubble to the surface. There's a scene where his mother has a, I think it's a stroke or some heart condition,
Yeah,
where they call for the
of
doctor,
yes,
and the
yes.
doctor's like, everything's fine. Oh, and Gregory Peck asks, well, if I want to get a second opinion, what do you think about Dr. Abrams? And Dr.
Mhm.
Abrams is a Jewish doctor, and you get the sense of the Christian doctor saying, well, he's a good man, but you know how they are. They, you know,
Right,
the stereotypical, they'll charge you more than what they're worth.
right,
Um,
right,
and then Gregory Peck blurts out and says, well, I am Jewish. And then,
right.
you
He
are?
changed
Oh.
exactly. Mhm.
And,
Backpedal, backpedal. Yeah,
and, and then from that on, anytime the doctor is mentioned, it's Dr. Abrams that they have coming
that's right.
to
Yeah.
help.
Mhm,
And, but I think that was the first scene where he starts to really get the anger starts to flow. And
mhm.
another sequence is we have his secretary, played by
Oh,
June Havoc, who, for
yes.
those in the theater world, would know, if you know the show Gypsy, Mama Rose. June
Mhm,
Havoc was the real Mama Rose's daughter, and Gypsy
mhm,
Rose Lee, the stripper's sister.
mhm,
She has a prominent role,
mhm. She's wonderful.
named
She
Elaine
means Elaine
Wales.
Hills, right, that's right, right.
And we come to find out that she is Jewish, but she
Mhm,
had pretended to be Christian with changing her name to see if she could get into work. And that's when it's discovered that the hiring department has some issues, which are then called out on.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because she submitted and applied under her real name, was
right.
turned down, and she thought, "What for the heck of it? I'm just going to do this under this name." And she was
And was
clearly
called in.
qualified for the job, and she gets hired.
And this is another element of the story of changing your identity and conforming to society to
Right.
get ahead of the game, or to, at least. And I get it, because it's like people need jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
if this is the way to get it, you know, you're going to have to do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
also going that line of like you're kind of lying to yourself too. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
tricky because it's such a problem
It is. It
that
is.
it's like you understand why they would change their name to see if they could get
Mm-hmm.
a job, or get a house, or get
Absolutely. Right.
a loan of some sort, or to go
Right.
to a restricted
Hotel,
hotel or something,
restaurant, anything. Right.
anything.
Right. And it's interesting with her character too, because word spreads fast because she becomes his secretary, and she feels like she can kind of talk to him on a certain level because she finds out that he's Jewish as well. And he said, "Well, I don't remember telling you that." And she said, "After your lunch, it spread through the place." So that tells you
Right.
that, okay, it's a big deal to these people. And so she, kind of tells him and kind of gets on a certain level, but says, this is what I found interesting. "But we're different, you and I, than other Jewish people." And he's like, "What do you
Right.
mean? What do you mean?"
That's that
Yeah,
underlying, again,
prejudice
the silent racism and prejudice, even those who
in
are
your own
in
group.
that minority community. I mean, that
Right.
uh, in any of them, every community has that same type
Mm-hmm.
of feel, as of that
Mm-hmm.
self-loathing, or that I'm ashamed of myself, so I'm going to change myself, rather than letting yourself be who you are.
And
And I
feeling
know
that
it's
air of
it's
superiority because somehow that will make you feel better, and it's not. It's awful. And he calls her on it and said, "What are you talking
right,
about?" You know. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you know, he's also that also makes his character think, oh, it's not just the Gentiles that are the problem;
Mm-hmm.
it's also internalized as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the film continues. He's learning more and more about what it's like to deal with anti-Semitism in his own backyard, in his with his friends, and now with his soon-to-be fiance. Now that Kathy and he have been seeing each other quite a bit, things are starting
Mm-hmm.
to get a bit rough around the edges, because Kathy, while all high and mighty about liberal ideals,
Justice. Justice. Mm-hmm.
is still fighting this whole pretending to be Jewish to get the story. It's we don't we're going to have a party. Should we mention it to everybody that this is just a
Well, yeah, and so her sister and her husband are throwing them this engagement party, and she says, "Look, we need to tell them that this is just you're just pretending to be." And he said, "Why? You're the only one that knows, and my boss is the only one that knows," and his mother, of course.
right?
And and it makes him angry, understandably. And she said, "Well, because we can't put him in that position. They have to know because of certain people that are coming to the party and blah 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 blah." And it's like they actually he walks out. He said,
Yep.
"Screw that," and she slams the door. And you think, well, that's it. And I understand why he's leaving. And this is horseshit. You can edit that out, but but you think, wow, she's not a good match for this guy. Her true colors are starting to kind of, like you say, the edges are fraying a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And because she's too superficial in that respect of like, this is what I've grown up with. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. We want to make things just as normal as possible. No
Right.
awkwardness, because there are some people who will take offense to this, or it'll just make everything awkward for my sister.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they reconcile after they both calm down a bit. she's starting to change a little bit
Yeah.
uh, as she and he keep moving on in their relationship. But the issue has become that Gregory Peck's character is getting more and more angry as time goes on, which makes it even harder to have conversations
Mm-hmm.
between those who may disagree with what's happening. And that's why the phrase keep falling and falling apart. But in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, Dorothy McGuire's character is starting to learn
Mm-hmm.
what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they do tell the sister and brother-in-law, and they have the party. And what was
Well,
interesting,
they don't tell the brother and sister, the sister and the brother-in-law that he's pretending to be. She tells them that he's Jewish.
he's Jewish,
And
yes.
and it's interesting at the party because the friends that obviously knew that of the family that showed up were, fine. But there are certain looks between the sister and the brother-in-law, if you notice that it's like, and that was brilliantly acted, directed, everything that you think, oh, these people are just scum because they're like putting on that, oh, okay, of course, we'll be, we'll treat him well, we'll do all this stuff. And underneath it, there's this, ugh, at these people.
Underlying
Yes,
hatred and anti-Semitism there.
exactly.
Um, But what I love about this sequence is we get to see a real transformation with Dorothy McGuire's character
Mhm.
because she comes up and says, "Oh, well, I thought so and so was going to be here. Oh, they
Yes,
had to
right.
cancel at the last minute." And then, "Oh, but what about so and so? I was expecting them to be here. They would have had a great conversation." And, "Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
she got sick and they had to go someplace else."
Right.
And so they actually it comes into the light that they pick and chose who they wanted to come to the party that they
Ex
knew wouldn't stir the pot. And
right.
Dorothy McGuire's character realizes this and is like, it hurts her in a way because
Mhm.
now she's like, oh, so this is now I'm dealing with the consequences of anti-Semitism and what
Right.
now I'm seeing it from their
Mhm.
point of view. But certain people
Mhm.
aren't going to come because they're going to be terrible people when they're at the party or try to strike up some sort of issue.
Mhm.
Uh, and
Exactly. Exactly. And she and a at that party, they leave because she wants to show, him, uh, Philip, or, uh, the house that she had built because she had been married before and is divorced, because that's, where she hopes they will live, and it's beautiful and all this stuff. And, but I'm thinking back to remembering that there was something with the sister, like there might have been an issue with him moving in. Like there was some kind of doubt, like she would have trouble moving into this neighborhood if people didn't realize that, so there's that going on underneath that as well.
exactly. Um,
Yeah,
and
which is
it's
what keep her
still
idle.
exactly, but she still hasn't quite reached that moment of completely understanding because she still has that underlying, oh, I can't, people will talk. And I don't want it to be awkward for myself. And when we come to find out that John Garfield's character is going to have to go back to California because he can't accept the job that he was offered because he can't find a place to live
For his
and
family.
for his family. And so Philip's like, "Oh, why don't you stay for just one more day? Let's see if we can figure something out."
Mhm.
And I can't remember if it's discussed. Why can't they give the house that Kathy has to?
It is
And as it's a discussion between them, and that's where she's still like that they would be
ostracized here.
ostracized. It's a restricted area, and blah 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 blah. And
Because she knows on some level it'd be safe if she moved in with Philip because she could just say, hey, he really wasn't Jewish. He was just writing this for this,
right,
blah, 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 blah. But if you really move in as friend, that's a different situation, which again goes back to that. when will she ever
Right.
come around and learn, or is it just too ingrained in her and too taught that she can't get beyond it? You know?
Exactly. And we start to go into probably the one of the hardest scenes to watch, which is where they're talking about their honeymoon and they're going to go to this Plume Inn,
Right.
and they're talking with Celeste Holmes' character, who is in the fashion section of the magazine. And they mention it,
Mhm,
and she's like, "Oh, you won't be able to go because it's restricted." And
mhm.
he's like,
Because she doesn't
"Restricted?"
know. She believes,
That
nobody
he's
else knows.
Jewish.
She believes he's
Yep.
Jewish, right? And
Yep.
so they're sitting
And
there with Dave, his friend, Army, and they're having a big party, and the four of them are having a great evening. And that's when she springs out. She's like, you can't do it.
yeah, you're not going to be able to go because they're restricted. You can't do it. And so Gregory Peck says, "Okay, well, I'm going to take these tickets now. I'm going to go up tonight, and I'm going to see for myself what the
Hmm.
problem is." And
Hmm.
so he goes to Plume Inn. Everything starts off just fine. Everything's great. He's about to be checked in, and then he mentions, "But are you restricted?" Almost
Hmm.
nonchalantly, like, "Are you restricted?" And then the front desk clerk is like, "Well, I wouldn't say, he can't say yes or no." Um,
Hmm.
but the way he's talking is like, I don't, well, I can't say yet
Hmm.
yes, but we are yes. And
Hmm.
then he starts to realize that Gregory Peck is Jewish. He goes back to the manager, and the manager's like, "Oh, it looks like we don't have any rooms available for you."
Right.
And then there's the
Right.
confrontation between the two of them about, "You don't accept Jews. Why won't
Right.
you tell me you won't accept Jews?" And now
Right.
everyone in the hotel lobby is looking over what's going on, and
Right.
he is forced to leave. The bellhop takes his luggage outside, and he has to walk away while everyone stares at him. But then all of a sudden goes back to like their normal
Right.
lives, like, oh, like
Yeah.
this doesn't seem wrong to me.
No.
Uh,
No.
that
It's interesting. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and I was just saying, and that's something that people deal with. Oh, we don't have your room anymore because we don't like
Exactly.
your
We
kind.
don't have a table.
We don't have a table for you.
Right.
Yep, even though you made a reservation, I don't see your
Hmm.
reservation here.
Hmm. Right.
So
There a couple characters. This is another aspect of this film. The mother, played by Anne Revere, who raised her son along with her husband to be a very open, accepting, truly accepting person. Now, that is a
right,
character that's truly accepting, and so is the Celeste Holm character. She believes he's Jewish. They go out and have drinks together. And she is pissed off at Dorothy McGuire's character's behavior, saying,
right,
how can you stand this shit? You know what it's like. Can't you see it? These people are awful. What are
right,
you doing?
right. And also, Celeste Holmes' character has a crush and is
Yeah,
secretly
yeah.
wanting to be with Gregory Peck, which is also a good sign of the fact that she knows that he's Jewish, and she
Believes he's
still
Jewish
wants
and
to be
doesn't care.
together, doesn't care.
Right,
So
right.
she is probably the most logical character in the film, even though she has her flaws with the.
Yeah.
She's kind of jealous of Kathy in a way, but also knows the issues with
Well,
Kathy.
she knows the issues because she also mentions at one point, she goes, she knows Kathy's family. They don't really go deeply into that, but at that party that she throws and says, to him kind of on the side when they're getting plates of food, have you met them yet? And it's like,
Right,
No, why? And just, well, okay. Well, it's kind of like, put your seatbelt on because I know them in the most polite possible way. But it stops him because he starts to think, whoa, what is going on? Just like, if she could just be honest, she'd say, don't get out of this right now. These people are
right,
horrible,
right,
horrible. You do not know what you're in for. Um, that I thought, I love that character and I love Celeste Holm. I just think she's one of my favorites as well. But going back to the mother, the mom, so Dave, the army buddy or military buddy, they're huge friends. And when he comes, it's like his mom puts her arms around him. It's like, David, he's like part of the family. So Phillips Green was raised in a very liberal, open household. It's like
yep, Oh,
All are welcome.
I loved that sequence. Like, can you make those wonderful flapjacks you used to
Yes.
make? And she was like,
Yeah.
"Eat up, eat up."
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm so glad to have you here." And
Yeah.
it kind of, as
Yeah.
frail as the mother, as Anne Revere's character is, she's like this, like gets her going and moving, and
Totally does.
gives her something to do, and
Yeah.
she loves it. And
Yeah.
as you say, yes, she's totally accepting of everything,
Yeah.
and
He's like another son to her, you know,
exactly.
like another kid. And it's like, I'm so glad you're here. And how's, how are your kids? How the wife? Come on in. And so you see both sides. You see this ugly side of society, and you see people who are more evolved, and
Right.
even at that time. And, it's like they're
No,
family,
exactly.
friends, family. Yeah.
Um, and as we continue, there's
Mm,
another extremely heartbreaking moment, which I think really sets off the Gregory Peck character, and that is his son gets
mm,
called names,
mhm,
um, like called a dirty Jew. We don't
mhm,
let you play, because he just wanted to play ball with these kids, and
mhm,
um, he comes back just distraught and doesn't know
mhm,
what to do. And Kathy doesn't make it any easier, because you're like, oh, you're not, it's a mistake. And that's the going back to her,
right.
the sort of
Oh,
white savior moment of like, it's
right.
not true, it's not true. And then Gregory Peck's like,
Mm,
Kathy, don't, you're this, we can't,
mhm,
you know. And she still doesn't quite understand.
mm-mm,
I think she let her emotions get ahead of her for that moment, because the kid is so distraught. But
mhm,
Gregory Peck's character starts to talk to him a little bit more. Is like, well, people act this way because of this, and did you fight back, or did you say anything back to them? And it's like, good, you don't
mhm,
pander to these people.
mm,
You can't let them get to you just
mm,
because you are of a certain way. And his kid is, growing up and learning, and
mhm.
he gets he understands, because
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
with his father and grandmother both being so
Yes.
accepting, and also
Yes.
Dave being so accepting, and
Mhm,
he gets all of that and sees all of that. So it
mhm,
but then starts to realize for Gregory Peck's character, like, oh, this is getting, now it's affecting my home life and my son, and now I've got
mhm,
to figure things out and get the
mhm,
story
mhm,
written.
mhm.
And there was another piece that I remember. Oh, um, before he starts to write the story, Dorothy McGuire is meeting up with um, Dave,
Because
and
because after that issue where she was trying to console his son, he, basically Philip said, "Get out. I mean,
yep,
that's enough." And she said, "Forget it. I can't do this anymore." And so you think they're split up. So she contacts Dave to talk to
to
him.
discuss, because she's just been to a party. She's
Yeah. Mhm.
a little distraught herself, because she says to Dave that they were talking this joke about Jewish people, and I just sat there. I couldn't say anything. I was so upset and so ashamed, and that's when Dave's character gives her the
Mhm.
realization of like, well, did you say anything? Did you
Mhm.
speak up? Did you leave? Did you? And she's like, no, I just sat there. I couldn't say anything, but I'm
Mhm.
now so ashamed and
Mhm.
sick, and my stomach is nauseous, and it's that feeling that we get when we know we should have done something but we didn't, and we had
Mhm.
the opportunity to do so, but we're still scared to do so, that we just clammed up.
Right.
And
That's
that's
honestly one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and beautifully played by both of them, because she's clearly fighting how she's been brought up, and the realization that she's learned all this stuff after being with Philip. And John Garfield does a brilliant job because he's not angry, he's
mhm,
not m mean. In the most loving way, he says to her, "But do you understand that if every time someone doesn't speak up, this continues?" And he says it in such a beautiful, loving way to her, and she just kind of looks off into space, and it's just brilliantly played because she gets it.
That's her major realization, where now
That's
she's
yes,
finally.
that's her epiphany finally. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting because he's, as you say, John Garfield's character is not mad, angry. He's not
No,
chiding her. Um,
no.
he's telling it like how he sees it and how
Yeah,
this is the problem and this is what always will happen. And had Philip's character been more compassionate about it and not be so angry, that might have
yeah.
been able to get to her a little bit more. But I think we also needed that for her
We needed it.
to kind
We
of get
needed
to
it.
that point for her final epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because otherwise, I don't think she would have changed in any way. It would have
Mm-mm.
still been business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we get the big reveal. The
Yeah.
story comes out. I
Mm-hmm.
was Jewish for 8 weeks, and everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
"What? I thought you were." And everyone is a bit miffed by the whole thing. And
Except for Celeste Holm, she's not.
right, she's not.
Mm-mm.
She,
She was like,
uh,
wow, wow, you know.
and then we get this really great scene between June Havoc and his secretary and himself about like, why are you treating me any different? I'm the same person I was yesterday. The same. We have the
It's
same skin. We have. It's almost the
right.
what is it? The I think it's the Merchant of Venice, where he's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you prick us, do we not
Yeah,
bleed? You know,
probably not bleed,
we're
right. Mm-hmm.
all the same. We're all humans. We all have feelings. We
Right.
all are. I'm the same person I was. I'm no different than you. And because she just can't realize, she's like, oh, why
Because
would you
now
do
she sees
something
them
like
as this, right.
and
Yeah.
she also sees the ugly truth behind the whole like not being who your true self, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another realization and a harsh realization sometimes to have to deal with because you
Mm-hmm.
know underneath that it's true but you don't want it to be true.
Exactly. Right. Right.
But
And then the I don't want to give up the big reveal at the end, but something wonderful happens, very generous of Kathy. Yes. Go ahead.
yes,
It's your
uh,
show.
no, I mean please, but yeah, you're right. uh, with the epiphany with the Dorothy McGuire's character, she decides to have Dave and his family come and stay at the cottage that's in Darien, Connecticut.
Mhm.
And she's going to be there and she will put up a fight if anyone makes any stink. And
That's
she
right.
will be there right next to him, fighting along the way.
Mhm.
And the Anne Revere character has now read the
Mhm.
story and
Mhm.
understands the fight that's going on. And she talks about how she wants to live to be very old now and sees what happens. She wants to be there for the fight, to see the changes that will occur. And she says the world is stirring in very strange ways. Maybe this is the century for it. Maybe that's why it's so troubled. Other centuries have their driving forces. What will ours have been when men look back? Maybe it won't be the American century after all, or the Russian century, or the atomic century. But wouldn't it be wonderful if it turned out to be everybody's century? When people
Yeah.
all over the world, free people, found a way to live together. I'd like to be around to see some of that. Even the beginning. I may stick around for a while.
And I love that. And I love that character so much. And I love Anne Revere. It just gives me the chills. Talk about subtlety and depth. We could go on for a whole show on her performance and Dorothy McGuire's performance and Celeste Holmes' performance. We could do a whole other show. But even one of the first scenes where she's waiting impatiently because her son is always late, waiting at, and she doesn't, she just stares at him, and go, oh, I just love waiting for people.
Yep,
I just love it. Yep.
exactly. And when
Somebody's
she's
always late. Love that. Gotta love it. Hmm.
exactly, and she is so subtle. All her performances that I've seen of hers, her Oscar-winning role in National Velvet, she's such a presence, but still everything is like just so, and she can say everything with her eyes as well. That I mean, she
Exactly.
doesn't have to do much of any. I mean, just, even that first scene where she's like, "I love waiting," but you can see that like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
annoyed, but I'm gonna like poke
Mm-hmm.
you here and be like,
Yep. Hmm.
I'm gonna be
Yeah, 'cause
bothered
she
here.
clearly loves her son. Clearly loves him. And then
exactly. And
and she's looking at him and then kind of glances down at the sun and say, "Oh, thank you, Tommy, to keep your mouth shut from now on." And then, I mean, it's just so subtle. Yeah. It's like, God, this is gold. What a lesson for actors. Any actors out there, talk about a lesson in stillness, depth, and everything going on inside. Watch this woman's work. Watch
oh
it. Along with
yeah,
Dorothy McGuire, I think. But
exactly. But
yeah.
that last moment where she
Oh,
says that, and it's a true thing where she's just like, I'm sure people of any generation who sees change, big changes coming, or it's on the horizon, they're like, I want to be here. This gives me drive, and
mhm,
she knows that even though she has a heart ailment,
mhm.
that she's like, this is what's going to keep her alive, because she's like knows that this what you wrote, this is exactly what people need to start seeing, and that's when the change will come, because you're stirring the pot for the good, and I want to be there for that, even if it's
Mm,
just the beginning of it. I want to see
right,
what's changed. And
right.
you can kind of with the civil rights movement, with those
Yeah.
who were older and seeing that come, and the changes that could be in the horizon that they were a part of at the beginning, and
Gave
with
them a reason to be, and a
right,
reason to stick around and a reason to fight no matter how old, how young, anything. Fight for this. It's worth it. Don't lose hope. Don't
exactly,
ever lose hope for any of this change, for good, positive change. Even if you slide back, and history sometimes slides back, we fight and push it forward.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what I like about this film in general is that you could replace the anti-Semitism with any type of
Anything,
minority that has
anything,
issues and
anything.
that they deal with on a daily basis. And
Mhm.
while the film is, there are a few things about it that are slightly dated in terms of the
Mhm.
terminology that they
Sure,
used,
sure.
which are not used anymore that I'm aware of, or at least
Hmm.
I haven't heard them used.
Hmm. Hmm.
I still think it holds up like
I
really,
do
really
too.
well. It still
I do too.
packs a punch. I don't know if it's a controversy, but as I
Mhm.
was reading comments of people's, because I was curious, I'm
Mhm.
always curious what people think nowadays of this
I
film.
did too. I did the same thing
And
as you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
and what struck me with some of these comments is that they pushed that whole white savior film, where it's a white person
I
saving
know.
a minority
I know.
community. And
I know.
I know that that's not a that's
Mhm.
I mean, we've changed so much since the
Mhm.
1940s that you
Mhm.
have to also look at it from that time period as well.
That's the
Um,
important. Yeah.
but I don't want that to diminish people watching this movie, because there's so much more than just that. There's a
Mhm.
lot under the surface for
Mhm.
many of the characters in
Mhm.
this
Mhm. I agree.
world. I think, yeah, I think it packs such a punch
Mhm.
in what it's
Mhm.
trying to tell us and try to explain in a very uncomfortable way. I can only imagine audiences at the time watching this movie for the first time, and like
Wow.
really starting to question it and peel away the skin and the layers of
Mhm.
your life.
And what had just come? I mean, you have to take it in the context of the time that it was made. I mean, this is literally 2 years after people understanding what had happened in Germany, in
Right.
Nazi Germany. Um, So, yes, we all don't need the white savior shit anymore. But for that time, to make it digestible for audiences, it kind of had to come through that way. Now, I'd like to investigate other films that might have been made around that time that don't have that uh, angle to it. But this is really, yeah, like you say, don't let that keep you from seeing this, because there's so many great things on so many different levels with this film, including just actors' performances, writing, uh, concepts, ideas. You have to, because a lot of this shit, unfortunately, still goes on.
Yep. Yep.
Unbelievable, but true. Okay. And that's nasty and ugly to look at, but you got to look at it because it wasn't just back then.
Yep. You can't just close the curtain
Uh-uh.
on it and
You
just
can't.
pretend it doesn't
You
happen,
can't.
because it does happen.
Yes.
And that's what I think, with the big crux of this film being the whole silent, it's not what's out in the open that we see
No.
face to face. It's what's happening inside the
Right.
quiet
Mm-hmm.
racism of just
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm just going to remain quiet. I don't want it to cause any problems.
It's very
And
important on a couple different levels, because not only one in hopes, like Dorothy McGuire's character that actually does come around and learn something, you hope for the best that people open up and learn. But if they don't, then you save yourself from being around that kind of toxic,
Exactly.
insidious, just destructive ugliness. You have to remove yourself from it. You have to do
Right.
it.
Exactly. And while Dorothy McGuire could have just left society that she was from, she decides to stay around and fight and
Fight.
push back,
That's right.
which is another form of this fighting. Is that, well, I'm going to have a Jewish couple and family
Mhm.
stay at this house in Darien.
Mhm.
I don't
It's my
care.
house.
It's
It's
my
my house,
house. You can
and
talk all
you'll
you
live with
want.
it.
I'm just going to
Mhm.
talk with these other people and the other friends
Mhm.
of mine who will
Mhm.
accept and
Mhm.
make my life feel better and make life for everybody in general feel better.
Right.
Because you start realizing who's the true friend and who's not the true friend.
Mhm.
uh,
Right. Exactly.
and that kind of like combines with
What?
both of these films about the surface level of what's
Yes.
underneath is more important than what's on the surface.
Exactly. Yeah, that is very much. There's definitely a common through line here with both films. And I love being left with the idea because I was raised by very liberal parents, thank God. But one thing my dad always used to say is, we all need to live together because that's really the only way this kind of stuff is going to. If your next door neighbor is of a different religion, color, whatever, from a different country, and you're living with them and you're getting to know them and you're becoming friendly, that is the best way. You don't force it on people, but you open up neighborhoods, you open up schools, you open up everything, and that's what's gonna take racism, anti-Semitism, everything out of the picture because it's like it's my neighbor, it's my friend, my
Exactly.
uncle or some intermarriage. That's the way to do it.
Well, and what you just said, it kind of echoes to what the Anne Revere character was saying about we all live together and all can be together. And if we can all have that, then that's best for society in the whole. And
It is the best for society, and think that to me, diversity is the biggest strength any country, the world can have, because not only do you learn different cultures and different ways of doing things, it's the great side. I mean, I was so happy. I grew up with parents who had friends from all walks of life. And our Jewish friends would come over for Christmas and Easter, and we'd go to their house for Passover and for certain celebrations. And you got different foods, you got different, traditions, and you all laughed together and had a great time. And it's true of anybody. I mean, you do that, you
right,
just go, oh, I know what that's about. It's no big mystery. Prejudice, racism is taught. It's taught, and it's a mental illness that needs to be stopped. Stop teaching it. I'll get off my
right.
soapbox, but that's it.
And that's why films like Gentleman's Agreement push the envelope so much to like make it uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable
Mhm,
for everybody,
mhm.
and especially the person who is being attacked. And
Yes.
it just doesn't seem fair to live in such a wondrous time to have
Mhm.
such evil and heartlessness and hatred to be just taking up space in your head and in your
Absolutely.
heart. And because there's so much more to life than just, I don't like you because you're different.
Right, right.
um, and I learned this because I grew up in a rural part of Michigan that
Mhm,
wasn't very diverse.
mhm.
And I only got started learning more about that as went to college and then moved to New York City, which is a huge melding pot
Love it.
um,
Yeah.
of cultures and diversity. So I started learning,
Mhm.
and understanding more because I was actually seeing it firsthand.
See, my parents were
And
New Yorkers, so there you go, you know?
yep,
I mean, just
yep,
this is the way we live. We love it.
it's
Boom.
it's uh, it's where you have a whole bunch of clusters of variety
Mhm,
of people,
mhm,
of race, color, creed,
mhm,
um, religions,
mhm.
and all have to work together to make the city prosperous.
Exactly, exactly. And all the cultures meld, which is so beautiful. I mean, I remember talking to an Irish friend and I said, oh, St. Patty's Day is coming up. So cabbage and corned beef and cabbage. He goes, okay, let me just tell you, corned beef doesn't exist in Ireland. What that was the Jewish neighborhoods and the Irish neighborhoods were next to each other in New York, and so they bring the food together for the celebration. So you got the cabbage from the Irish, the corned beef from the Jewish religion in that neighborhood, and that made a wonderful, unique American celebration of St. Patrick's Day. Boom.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. That's
Exactly.
great.
And you have two minorities who had
Ostracized again.
prejudices and ostracized coming together and creating something that like is still is used today and remembered, and it's like
Yeah,
like wow. I mean, it's something that created something memorable and loving and caring, and it's like who cares
tradition now
if I'm
for
Jewish and you're Italian, or if you're
right.
or Irish, or
Whatever.
we can create something together, and that's what makes it prosperous.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
I think the world would be a better place for that.
I do
Um,
too. And rich
and
in so many ways.
exactly,
Yeah.
because life is just too short to.
It is too short. And I think I'm never going to lose hope. I think and I don't want to get political on this, but if we slide back, I think if you take a step or two back, or however you want to perceive it, we're going to take giant leaps forward and finally clear out this infection. That's my dream.
Exactly.
That's my dream.
And I will say we have seen a lot of
Mhm,
changes, even in my lifetime.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it happens slowly. Change always happens slowly, but when
Yeah.
it does happen, it makes it better for everybody, and
Profound.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what Gentleman's Agreement
Yeah.
is trying to convey.
Mhm.
And the same with the Enchanted Cottage.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
coming together and creating something beautiful that is
Mhm.
not fighting each other and not attacking each other, but just
It's
making it
acceptance and love. Yeah.
acceptance, love, tolerance, understanding, all that wrapped up into one.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just we need to just keep reminded of it, and that's
Yeah.
why these are important films to keep
Mhm.
at the surface. A lot of these older films, it's like trying to get them back up into the mainstream again because they're important movies
Mhm.
and had
Mhm.
important lessons at the time, and some still to this day ring true. And so, just adored both of these movies. So,
Yeah, I'm so glad. Me too. I love going back to them, and I'm gonna return to them again.
right,
Over
exactly,
and over. Yeah.
exactly. Um,
And I have to shout out again to TCM because bless you, TCM, for still keeping all these films in the forefront. So those of you who don't know TCM or you haven't, tune in, tune in, along with Real Beans, because Ben is also keeping this stuff alive. So thank you, Ben,
of course,
for doing that. Yeah,
I love classic movies, and there's so
I know.
many that I haven't seen that I want to see, and
I love that.
so I want to revisit. And yes, TCM, you can also, if you don't have cable, but
Hmm.
if you have HBO Max, they have a TCM channel on there that has specific films that they curate there, but they still have
Fantastic.
a lot of classics and some modern films that are important in the lifespan of the movies. Yeah,
Mm.
just there's just so much to enjoy about them.
They're really, it is. It's just cozy. It's comfort. And we've talked about that before. Cozy comfort. It's just
Exactly. And you have that with your cup of coffee.
have to do that, Ben. And I love it's a real treat for those of you out there. Ben is a total connoisseur of coffee, and I discover a new coffee every time we do a podcast together. So thank you, because I have really got some new favorites on the shelf.
Oh,
Thanks to
I'm
you.
glad. I love to be able to not only introduce people to films that I adore, but also my other passion of coffee and trying to
Hmm.
get people to understand of the varieties that are out there and the
Hmm.
styles and how you can
Yeah.
find something that is a diamond in the rough somewhere. And
Hmm.
well, I think we've really covered
Yeah.
a lot of ground with this
Yeah,
one.
we
So
have. Thank you
uh,
so much. Always a delight. Always a delight to talk
yeah,
to you about these things.
and
I
you'll
love
be back on again. We have some ideas in the pipeline, so
it. Hmm.
as we continue with season 2, which I can't believe, one year
Congratulations. Yes.
in the books, and going
Congratulations.
strong. And I'm hoping to make it even stronger as we continue to evolve and
Yeah.
find new ways of talking about these classics and modern films. And yeah, I just appreciate your constant support and
Oh,
also what you bring for this podcast, because it really adds a lot more to the layers than just myself could bring. So it's
well,
always a pleasure to have you here to discuss these films.
thank you so much. And I enjoy listening to you when you're doing the solo stuff. I just always tune in because you always have a great angle and perspective on all these films. So again, appreciate what you do.
Hope to provide something new for you to think
Yeah,
about and to ponder and to
yeah,
enjoy
and rediscover.
and rediscover. Exactly. That's what rediscovery is, a great thing.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Danielle, and we'll see you at the next cup.
Yay. Wonderful. Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more film and coffee lovers find the show. You can catch up on all our previous episodes on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to check out realbeans.com for show notes, pairing details, and more. If you'd like to support Real Beans and help keep the show going, head over to realbeans.com/support. And hey, if you've got a film or coffee recommendation you think would make a great pairing, drop us a message on Instagram at real_beans. I'd love to hear your suggestions. And so until next time, sip, watch, repeat.